Welcome to using online tools to recover after a disaster strikes. You're viewing a video funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. The New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network is also funded by the state of New Jersey and is hosted by Rutgers Business School in Newark and New Brunswick. The New Jersey Small Business Development Center Network is an accredited member of the National Association of Small Business Development Centers. You are listening to Lisa Kanda, marketing consultant and social media strategist at LK Corporate Advisors. I have worked with hundreds of small businesses, helping them create and implement strategic marketing plans and integrating digital technology using social media and online resources. This video will cover using online tools to recover after a disaster strikes. Small business owners need to react quickly after a disaster to reach their customers. It's important that they have plans in place to communicate with their customer base to keep them informed of how the business was impacted by the disaster. Depending on the circumstances, small businesses may need to find alternate ways using online tools to keep the business open, to make sales or provide services as they did before the disaster. This video podcast will highlight 3 businesses impacted by Superstorm Sandy and also online tactics they implemented to help them recover. In addition, we will cover how you should contact customers after a disaster and be prepared for that. Some of the online tactics that you can use to be more successful and keep your business going after a disaster strikes. So let's get started. So the things we'll discuss today will start with, of course, the online tools you need for communication. Your website and potentially adding e-commerce to your website, if you don't already have that, are critical, especially after a disaster, since most people will be looking online, especially if your location has been damaged or you've been displaced temporarily or even permanently after the disaster. Email marketing is one way that you can reach your target market and your customers after a disaster. One way to find out their needs potentially if things have changed dramatically is by doing surveys. Having online demonstrations by utilizing the internet and web-based tools in order to communicate with your customers is one way to do it. Communicating via video chat is another opportunity we will look at. And then last, we will look at 3 case studies that I had mentioned earlier, one involving a medical office, another a retail store, and a third a home builder, all impacted by Superstorm Sandy. So let's get started with talking about using your website and e-commerce to communicate with your customers. We know now that after a disaster, many of your customers may have been displaced and/or your business may have been displaced and temporarily out of business because of the disaster. So we want to make sure that your website is in the best shape it can be in for communicating with your customers what is going on with your business. So your website, of course, should always be visually appealing. It should have your crucial business information on it. And this also means that you should have the opportunity to update and change your website very readily after the disaster so that you can let your customers know what your situation is. In addition, your contact information should be on there, especially if it has changed, so that your customers know how to reach you. It should have clear navigation so your customers can find the information that they need. You want to integrate your social media with your website. This is very important because social media is a very critical tool for communication during a disaster and post-disaster. So social media integration and knowing how your customers can reach you through social tools will be very important. And your website must be mobile ready because after a disaster, many people may not have the resources or the availability to get to a regular computer to reach your website. They may be using their mobile devices. So you want to be able to be mobile ready so that your customers can find you via their mobile devices and not rely strictly on their computers to do that. And then last, if it is at all possible, having an e-commerce section of your website so that your customers can shop online to purchase your services and or your products. This way, if they cannot make it to your store, or if you have a brick and mortar store, or you cannot communicate and do business with them as you used to in the past, you can use your online store and your online e-commerce site in order to keep the revenue stream coming in and be able to provide services and products to your customers. So when you are doing your website or you're redoing your website post-disaster at this point, make sure that these components are thought of and included in your site going forward. Now, if you're going to sell online, there are a couple of options that you can look at. First of all, you can look at using other websites in order to place your products and services. And what we mean by that, websites such as eBay, Craigslist, Etsy, Square Market, Shopify, these are places where you can place your products to be sold. And they host it on their sites, and you just need to upload to their sites. There are some fees usually involved, but it's very simple and easy, and it takes the worry off of you in so many ways of having to maintain all this on your own website. So doing e-commerce on other websites is a very affordable, very simple option if that will work for you. But you can also put products and services on your own website. So there are some things here. One is called Infusionsoft, One Shopping Cart, PayPal, and Volusion are just some of the many types of shopping cart systems that you can put into your own website. By all means, if you are not tech savvy, you may need to ask the assistance of a web developer who can help you with that. But if you have a large database of products and services that you want to put on your own website, or even if you sell services, and this is something for people to think about who may have professional services or things that may not be product oriented. You may be able to put some of these on your website as a service offering that people can buy maybe your consulting time or your services and pay for them online. And you may be able to conduct all your business online after the disaster. So think about that as an option for actually collecting your fees for your services using an online system. But if you're looking to sell online, just realize you have a couple different options, whether it's hosted somewhere else by using another type of website where they have an e-commerce piece set up for you, or you can actually host it on your website. And that may take a little bit more sophistication and the need of a web developer or someone to help you get that set up for you. The next area we want to look at in order to keep your communication with your customers going after a disaster is using email marketing. Email marketing and having an email mailing list are very important for keeping your business going and keeping your communication with your customers going, and also your prospective customers. So if you have a brick and mortar store, you should be collecting email addresses from all your customers. And anytime that you do any transaction with a customer, you probably should get their email address and get their permission to be able to send email information to them. Once you get permission to do that, you can create email marketing newsletters, email marketing information, and keep in communication, especially post-disaster, because many of your customers may want to know what had happened with your business after a disaster strikes. Now, email marketing is very affordable. It can also be personalized and customized for your customers. So you can send out emails strictly with the person's name in it and customizable to what their needs are based on their likes and dislikes. It can be very targeted. You can segment your email database based on what you know about your customers. It can be very actionable. Within an email marketing campaign, you can put calls to action to either go to your e-commerce site if you've set one up, or to stop by the store if you're doing a sale or a contest or promotion. And it's very measurable. Within email marketing, you can measure how many people have actually opened that email, how many people have clicked on some of the links that you may have there that go to your website. So it's very measurable of knowing what kind of results you're going to get from that. It also helps expand your reach. And what this means is email marketing can take you beyond your geographic location. So if you are a location-based business where most of your customers are with a certain mile radius, you can potentially reach a larger audience with email marketing, especially if you integrate e-commerce within your website and within your offerings. So here's another way you can help sustain your business even longer by incorporating email marketing to notify customers of some of the products or services you have, and putting an e-commerce site, on your website, so that you can offer them your products and services and they can buy online. So think about that as a strategy in order to keep your communication and your sales going after a disaster. The other thing you want to look at is making sure that your email is mobile friendly. And most of the sites that we'll talk about are mobile friendly because most people now are reading their email on their mobile devices. So you want to make sure it's very easy to read and very easy to click through to your mobile ready website in order to see what your offerings are. And email marketing is also very friendly for time management because you can schedule the emails to go out at a specific day and time. So you can work on the email and create the campaign beforehand and decide when you want it to be emailed out. And it doesn't have to be done at the moment you're sending it. So when you have time to do it, you can create it and then have it scheduled to go out at the best convenient time that your customers will get it. So email marketing has a lot of benefits to it that you should be doing after a disaster in order to stay in communication with your customers. Now, some of the different email marketing programs available. Now, some are free, some offer free trials, and some are only paid. But here's just a random list. There are many more out there. So if I haven't listed it here, it's because I just didn't find it, but you may have others you know of. But the ones I know of are Constant Contact, Vertical Response, iContact, Aweber, Campaigner, GetResponse, MadMimi, and MailChimp. And like I said, there are probably a few other out there you may know of, and as long as they meet the needs that you're looking for to reach your target market and fit within your budget and have an ease of functionality and use that you can do, make sure you use some type of email marketing campaign program. Now, the one I am going to highlight for you is one that's called MailChimp. And the reason I do that is because it has a feature within it that is very compelling. It has a forever free version if you have fewer than 2,000 subscribers to your list. And you can send up to 12,000 emails per month absolutely free. There's no expiring trial, contract, or credit card required. So if you are budget constrained, if you don't have a very, very large email list yet, this may be a very good alternative for you post-disaster, especially to get up and running very quickly to communicate with your customers. So MailChimp, while I get no compensation or anything for telling you about this, I'm only telling you to endorse them because they do offer this free version, which none of the other ones that I'd mentioned have available. They have free versions, but not as generous as this one. So MailChimp is one for you to look at, but if there are others you've already signed up for or are using, they are all good programs that you can use. Now, another area for you to stay in communication with your customers is by using surveys. Now, using surveys can be done several different ways. If you have an email marketing campaign, you can send links to surveys or embed surveys within your emails. You can also put them on your website, or you can use them in social media. So there are many ways that you can put surveys out to your customers so you can get responses from them. And why would you want to use surveys? Well, after a disaster, you may need to know more information about your customers and what's going on with them. Things have changed after a disaster. Your customers may have been displaced. The world has changed for them because they have different needs and different things are going on. So surveys are a great way for you to communicate to get information from your customers and even your potential customers. So some free resources or low-cost resources for surveys are going to be talked about now. The first one is Google Forms. If you have a Google Plus account, which is free, all you need to do is sign up with Gmail and get a Google Plus account, you can have Google Docs. In Google Docs, they now offer Google Forms. And as you can see here on the screenshot, it's something new they're offering. You can create a form very quickly. And of course, if you have others within a team, so if you're on different locations because after the disaster you've been separated and now are working in different places, you can work together with a team. And then you can send it by inviting people to respond via email or social networks. And then, of course, bring things into a spreadsheet afterwards for analysis. So Google Forms, something fairly new, but free and available that you can use immediately if you need to communicate and get information from your customer base or prospective customers. Now, 3 other ones after that I'm mentioning are Survey Gizmo, Wufoo, and Survey Monkey. Now, these usually have some type of fee involved, and there may be a free version or a trial version involved. The one I'm going to talk about is called Survey Monkey. And the reason I mentioned Survey Monkey is because the basic free account may be just what you need. It features 10 questions per survey and 100 responses per survey. Very easy to use. It's web-based, and you can collect data via a web link. So you can just have a web link that you can put out on your website or in social media. You can use email. You can embed it into your website or blog. There are lots of different options on how you can present this survey to get information. So SurveyMonkey, if you are not looking at over 100 responses per survey, is a very good option for you. If not, Google Forms, I think, is something you could use as well. But these are easy tools for you to gain information post-disaster that will help you as far as getting information about what your customers need so you can create or work with them on the types of services and products you offer. Another area that you need to look at if you want to communicate with your customer after disaster is by using online demonstrations. So if you are limited in either geographics or even transportation because of the disaster, how can you stay in touch with your customers with online tools? So there are ways that maybe you can share your screen or use online meetings in order to communicate with your customers. I have 4 here listed where they're actually screen sharing programs. And by screen sharing, you can do one-to-one or one-to-many. So you may be able to have short demonstrations to various customer bases. Maybe you send an email marketing campaign out and offer to do a demonstration online and have them come and view your demonstration via the web. So here's another way you can stay in communication with them and maybe showcase some of your products and services or some of the latest tips and tools you have and communicate with your customers. The 4 here I mentioned are called Any Meeting, Quick Screen Share, which is actually still in beta form, Free Screen Sharing, and Join.me. These are all free tools that you can use to do online demonstrations. Now the one I'm going to showcase here is called Join Me. And it's very, very simple because there's no downloads. It's easy to share your screen and it can be done on the fly or planned in advance. So the screenshot you see here, of course there's a free trial, but there's also actually a free version all the time. So it's a little bit misleading, but the free version is available to you at all times. Okay? And basically you can start a meeting right away, or you can give a code and people can join the meeting at any time. And this platform is also very mobile friendly. So that's also important, as we mentioned, after a disaster, if people don't have the access to the different computers they may have had in the past, that they can at least get available on their mobile device or their tablets if they want to view what your online demonstration is. And then the other way you can communicate is via video chat. And I'm sure you've heard of Skype before, but you may not have thought of Skype as a way to stay in communication with your customer base. But Skype is free. As you can see here, you get a Skype account, the video and voice calls to anyone else on Skype, and also involves instant messaging and file sharing. So here's another opportunity where possibly if you need to have meetings, you can do it via Skype, and it's free for you and your customer. The other way you can do video chat is using the Google platform. Google is very robust with many, many, many different tools. And two of the tools that are available through Google are Google Hangouts on Air and Video Hangouts. Video Hangouts are the types of Hangouts that you can talk in private video chat with you and up to 9 other people. So 10 people can be in a video chat at the same time. And that's a wonderful way if you need to have a meeting or a conversation with your customers and you want to do it free. All they have to have is a Google account, and you can get on a video hangout with them immediately on the fly or plan it in advance. Now, a Hangout on Air is another free tool, which is a broadcast of your conversation with you and up to, again, 9 other people for free to anyone. And that is an event you schedule either on the fly or in advance, and you send people the link, and they tune in via Google, and they can see your Hangout on Air. The advantage of the Google Hangout on Air is it can also be recorded. It will be recorded to your YouTube channel. So you can have a recording of that Google Hangout and then share it again with possibly your customers who may have missed it because their timing may not have been right or they were not available after a disaster. So 2 other options within Google are Google Hangouts on Air and Video Hangouts. Now let's talk about a 3 case studies actually that are going to demonstrate how these 3 businesses utilized some of these tools after Superstorm Sandy. There was a medical office that was positioned on a river that of course had major flooding after the storm, and their office completely was flooded out, and they lost quite a bit of their equipment and their building. So the medical office had to relocate to another building that was provided to them by one of their friends, and they moved there temporarily and had to rebuild their office. So here is what their office looked like beforehand. And that once they relocated, they had quite a big effort to let the word out, because here they were still up and running. Within about 2 weeks after the storm, they were already seeing patients, and they had to get the word out very, very quickly. So they used Facebook and their website and email marketing as primary ways to do this. Now, before I move on to the next slide, I just want to show you where they are today. They are pretty close to reopening. Of course, it's a year and a half since Superstorm Sandy. They need to elevate their office, as you can see. So they are elevating their location. It should be open within the next month or so, and they will be back home. So the same as they had done before when the storm hit and they had to be relocated, they're still going to need to communicate with their customers again and their patients to let them know that they've moved back. So in this case, the medical office primarily used social media as one of the tools to let them know that they had moved and to keep in communication with their customers and their patients. And within Facebook, they also added 2 features to their Facebook page. They allow their patients to actually make appointments online through Facebook. And they also solicited more reviews because they needed to grow their customer base. Some of their patients had been displaced and they lost some of their patients, which you may have also experienced after a disaster. So they needed to get new patients and let them know that they were available and open for business. So the reviews were very important to let people know who they were and what their credibility was. So Facebook was important, and their Facebook page, not only to communicate, but also to take appointments online and increase their credibility with reviews. They also provided an email marketing campaign to their customers to keep them updated of what was happening with the medical office. So even though their patients may not have been coming in regularly, they were on their email list. So they received regular updates on the progress that they were making in rebuilding so that they could be moving back to their location. And they also made some updates to their website and kept their website updated with all the current information of what was happening. So here's one example of how a medical office utilized some of these online tools to not only communicate with their current patient base, but also look to bring new patients in who may have who needed their services and didn't know they were available. The second case study is involving a retail store. It is actually a jewelry store and with also home decor, accessories, and things of that nature. So this is a store that was actually at the Jersey Shore, also impacted severely by her Superstorm Sandy. And what they did prior to the storm, they did not have a very robust website and had no e-commerce. They pretty much had a very simple, small website. So they expanded their website to become an e-commerce website. So now that their customers can shop online using an e-commerce website with hundreds and hundreds of their jewelry and decor and accessories now available online to their customer base. In addition to that, they have implemented an email marketing strategy. So their customers are on their email list, they collect their email addresses, and they send them information consistently about what is going on with their inventory in the store, maybe some of the sales and promotions that they're going to have, and also telling about their e-commerce site and that their customers cannot get to their location, that they can buy the products online. And last, they use Facebook and their business page on Facebook to promote and to communicate with their customers and let them know that they're open, that the Jersey Shore is open for business. And when they come back here, they can see that our beaches are back and that business is thriving. So people who may be afraid to coming back to the area that was impacted by the disaster are being communicated with via Facebook that the stores are open and that we're welcoming back them to come back and visit. So that was what this store had done to help get their business back online. And last, there was a home builder that had been impacted by the storm because the same thing, right after a storm, no one's building that fast. And in fact, they're impacted and they're just trying to get their life back in order. So in this case, the home builder got their Facebook page up and running very quickly and communicating with potential customers who may be looking to rebuild what services and products were available to them. And from that, one particular thing this home builder did was interacted with Facebook groups. And this is a strategy that many people may not think of when using social media, especially as a home builder or as a business. But some Facebook groups have been started after the disaster with people from different geographic areas and communities who were talking about some of the problems and some of the things they needed help with. Now, with permission, this particular home builder was invited to join a particular group and a community, and they were able to share with this community what they had to offer and create some events so that they could go in and help the community rebuild. So this is a very strategic on their part because they were brought in for a very specific reason by a community and invited within a group. So that's another strategy online that you could potentially use after a disaster. And then the last thing within their Facebook page, they solicited online reviews. And this was because so many people after the disaster needed assistance that by using online reviews by people who had used them, people who were looking for help could see on their Facebook page all the people who had received assistance and that the credibility and reputation of this particular builder was present and they could rely on them to help them with their business or rebuilding for their homes. So the home builder was able to really utilize these online resources to make a difference in growing their business and in helping their community rebuild. So in conclusion, we went through several different ways that you can use online tools in order to continue your business and continue communicating with your customers after a disaster. We also looked at 3 different scenarios and case studies of different types of businesses who also utilized some online tools in order to make sure that their customer base was communicated with and they could continue to bring in sales after the disaster to continue to grow their business. If you have any more questions or would like more information, we invite you to visit these websites, www.sba.gov or www.njsbdc.com.